We gotta be top of the hour. And a lot of you guys who are already tuning in the chat, hello and welcome. There's a lot of people, Andre, saying diesel is not dead, but our episode today is that diesel is in fact dead.
Yes.
And we're gonna explain why. Basically, there's some big news that came out today. More ramifications for the Volkswagen Group from the Dieselgate scandal, which is at this point 3 years in. So we're going to talk all about that today because, well, it means a lot for the automotive industry that diesel is really suffering lately. So we need to talk about that. But first, let's just say hi to some people.
Yes.
Genji, I hope I said that right. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Rainbow of Sparta, interesting choice of name, but I like it. Welcome. The GT Group B, funny name for today. Joey's Cleaning Lady, hello, welcome. Jellyfrosh, Ryan, Mile High Freshwater, Carcane, Daniel Ivan Gomez, Medellin, Street Muscle 215. Hello, welcome everybody. I'll try and get to more people if I can help it. But let's get into it, dude. So basically this morning, Rupert Stadler, who is the CEO of Audi, was arrested in Germany.
Rupert.
So he looks like a criminal already. That's not true. Sorry. That's
so we alleged.
Allegedly,
right?
Yeah,
Allegedly. The allegation is that he was tampering with evidence, considering the scandal, right?
They're worried that he would tamper with evidence.
They were worried that he might.
They're worried that he was gonna so there's a huge leadership void in the Volkswagen Group right now, with a lot of people getting fired because of Dieselgate. And so the German authorities are worried that Rupert here is going to try and meddle with things involving the investigation. So they arrested him basically pretty recently after Audi had just announced that 60,000 more vehicles, the A6 and A7 models, had cheat devices. Plus Porsche, I think, also just got busted again in Germany. So, you know, over 1 million Audis in the past year have been recalled due to Dieselgate. And they're worried that Rupert Stadler is going to be not helpful to the investigation. So he got arrested. And this means, Andre, that we have to do a big, in-depth recap about Dieselgate and what all has happened, because we're 3 years in. It started in 2015.
Yeah, I remember the day. I remember I was in the office, not here, but in a different, smaller office before we moved here, with Roman and I think Ian and Nathan. And we heard about this story, and the EPA accused VW of cheating.
Yeah.
And there was a huge thing. I think it was like a Friday afternoon. It was right before the weekend. We were kind of scrambling to cover the news. And then a couple of weeks later, I actually went out and I found the VW Jetta TDI.
Yep.
And I actually tried to do a report. I put it on a dyno. It was very similar to this. There's a video on the TFL car channel where we put it on a dyno, see how it behaves on a dyno, how it behaves. Because the whole scandal was that the car would actually know when it's on the dyno, because the rear tires are not moving, for example.
Right.
And it would go into this clean mode, and then when you drive it on the street, it would do completely different things, and it would not be as clean. So what happened in 2016 then?
So in 2016, the U.S. Justice Department sued Volkswagen, which prompted Volkswagen to set aside 16.2 billion euros or 18.8 billion US dollars for fines and compensation.
That's a lot of billion.
A lot of money. They didn't end up paying all of that because in 2017 they ended up settling with U.S. authorities for a mere 4.3 billion.
Still
chump change to the Volkswagen Automotive Group, which is still a ton of money, obviously. Yeah. So in May, the former CEO Matthias Müller said, "quote Diesel is part of the solution."
So they weren't giving up on diesel.
They were not giving up on diesel as of 2017. But that much has changed since then, because in 2018, especially in Europe, a lot of cities have announced that they're going to start banning, especially older diesel vehicles.
Right.
VW, again, this year was fined another $1.2 billion by the German courts. Winterkorn?
Yes.
Interesting name.
That was the main guy.
Winterkorn.
This is him.
Winterkorn was indicted, and Rupert obviously today was arrested. So things for the Volkswagen Group have been declining steadily, just a slow, miserable death for diesel over the past 3 years.
By the way, you mentioned older diesels being banned in Europe and other countries. We have an older diesel behind us.
We do have an older diesel.
I don't know if you can see that clearly, but this is my personal car, 2002 Golf TDI that I purchased brand new in 2002.
Wow.
And I purchased it in 2002 because I was a huge diesel fan.
Yeah.
Back then, you know, this car still gets about 47 mpg.
which is amazing. Yeah,
Right,
it's awesome.
for an old car, that's
really
really
awesome.
amazing. You know, back then diesels were not very popular still in the United States. They were
Not in cars, at least.
not in cars. Trucks
Yeah.
were always there.
Yeah.
And then also in the years after that, I was watching Le Mans racing, and Audi was huge with their diesel race cars. And I
Yep.
was like, whoa, that technology in the race car is basically what's kind of in my car, and there was a relationship there. I was really excited. But then in 2015, when the news came out, I was really bummed.
Yeah, I was bummed in 2015 when the news came out too, because I had just purchased my 2015 GTI, and shortly after this news came out, GTIs were going for a lot cheaper than how much I paid. Plus, the next year they ended up bringing in a lot of standard features. So
Yes.
basically, for any fan of the Volkswagen Group, it was a bad year. It's been
Or
a bad couple
it's been
years.
a bad few years,
Yeah, it's
actually.
been a bad
for
few years
VW
for
fans
Volkswagen.
and you know, people in general. So this is, but now manufacturers, including VW, they're jumping on this electrified car wagon, right?
Yeah, so to those of you guys who are saying that diesel isn't dead, okay, sure, it might not be dead yet, but pretty much every automaker and their mother is jumping on the EV hype
And
train.
that's the where the wind is blowing,
And yeah,
basically.
people are not going to continue, especially in the U.S., no one is going to bring diesels here, or not many manufacturers are going to bring
And
diesels
this is
here.
kind of interesting because some manufacturers had diesel engines in development, right?
Totally,
so,
yeah.
For example, Ford just is still bringing out their Ford Transit Connect, a little van with a diesel.
Yeah.
GM just brought out their Equinox with a diesel,
Yep.
Terrain with a diesel. So they've been developing these engines for many, many years.
Joey's cleaning lady said he just bought a Jaguar with a diesel.
Yes, the Ingenium, I think it's called. No, that's their gas engines.
Yeah.
They have a funny name for their
They
diesel.
have a weird diesel name.
But so some cars are still coming out, right? Because they've been in development for so many years. But future development is all shifting towards electrification.
100%, yeah. So what does this mean, right? Well, or what do we mean by this? Well, Mercedes has just actually today revealed some new pictures of the EQC crossover,
Yes.
which is going to be an electrified vehicle.
This is the camouflage prototype.
These are some prototypes testing on a racetrack that looks like it's in like Nevada or Utah or something like, well, Spain, or Spain.
It all looks the same.
It does. It looks like Nevada or Utah.
It does.
Also looks like Spain. So we don't have any specs on this new EQC yet. It looks very production ready, though. I mean, look at that.
I think
The concept picture obviously doesn't have like these real mirrors, right? It has little cameras.
Yeah.
And the grill's blue.
Giant rims.
So you know, obviously, and these are not real tires, but obviously, you know, they're getting something ready to bring to production.
Very soon, right?
Very soon, I would think. We don't really know a whole lot about it yet, but based on these pictures, we have to assume it's.
But look,
gonna be
it
really
looks
soon.
production ready. I think you're
They
right.
they have a hashtag. Their hashtag is production ready. Hashtag switch to
Yes,
EQ.
and the running boards look production ready, and their rims, and their overall shape, and the interior. You can see a little bit of the interior here.
Yeah, it looks ready.
I think it's coming out within a year. Our expert, Anton Wallman, who sometimes does videos with us, he knows everything about electric cars, and we have a lot of videos on this channel and also on TFL Car.
Yeah.
Where Anton discusses with Roman a lot of this stuff.
Tons. Yeah, Anton is our electrification
Man.
guru, if you will. He knows everything there is to know about electric cars these
Yes.
days. But anyways, you know, diesel scandals are pretty much popping up left and right. Mercedes, Daimler is getting fined. FCA had a big Mitsubishi.
Recently.
Mitsubishi doesn't sell any diesels in the U.S., but they just admitted to cheating for the past 25 years, actually, in their diesel vehicles in the rest of the world.
You know, I think what
So-
happened?
What happened?
So VW came up with these numbers, right? Their horsepower and torque numbers and their emission standards.
Yeah.
And every other manufacturer was like, how are they doing this?
Right.
You know, this
Right.
is very hard to do.
Yep.
So everybody was almost like, nobody knew they were cheating, but everybody was like forced.
Everyone was cheating secretly to keep up with everyone
Yes,
who they thought
everybody
weren't
else.
cheating.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really
A
crazy.
circle of cheating.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff.
And it's not good because as a
No.
result, basically cars are polluting, diesel cars at least are polluting 20 times
Yeah,
as much as they should be.
And particulates have been linked to, you know, cancer and other, you know, illnesses. So
Yeah.
it's a serious problem. It's really serious.
Yeah, and actually speaking of post-Dieselgate vehicles, we just did a fun video with a 2018 SQ5, a 2018 Q5, in my aunt's vehicle, a 2016 Q5 TDI that has been reflashed by Audi. Reprogrammed. So it's a post-Dieselgate Audi, and we did a really fun video with that.
But it's not out yet, right?
It's not out yet, but it'll be coming out soon. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But yeah, diesel scandals are they're too frequent now, and I think automakers are recognizing that and just jumping ship and putting all their chips toward electrification.
But also, and partly, VW is a big player in this. They're investing in an infrastructure.
Right.
The part of the settlement was that VW would help the electric charging stations be more available, and then more manufacturers are jumping on board. And this is their latest concept, that this car, they said, was not really coming to the United States. And we said, why not? But they're focusing on their other buzz vehicles. We'll talk about that later,
We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, companies are seeing the future, if you will, that electrification is probably the cleaner way to go for the future.
It's probably not the only way.
No.
Gas engines are still there.
Gas engines are still there.
Like hydrogen fuel cells.
Yep, hydrogen is a big technology.
Yeah.
One thing is clear though, and that's that diesel is too difficult to get right, or at least automakers have been too resistant to doing it right.
I think trucks will be diesel for a long time. Do we have any questions or comments coming in?
A lot of people checking in saying hi. Lord Grease Earl of Maggot says, nice Tatra sticker on your laptop. Thank you very much. People are, Tolo Polo and Clinton Stubbs are saying if there's a diesel electric plug-in hybrid, that could be interesting, which it could be. But again,
there were some of these cars in Europe actually developed, and some of them were actually in production. The issue with that was cost. So diesel technology is expensive because you have particulate filters and diesel exhaust fluid, and then batteries are expensive. Electrification is expensive. So if you combine all those technologies in one car,
it's going to get really pricey.
It's going to be one expensive car.
It's going to be a really expensive car.
And a really heavy car too. Right, diesel engine, batteries.
Also, it's kind of interesting because diesel has this weird fluctuation in fuel price, where diesel will sometimes be more expensive than gas, and sometimes it'll be a little less expensive.
It's kind of seasonal to some extent.
Yeah,
as well.
It is kind of seasonal.
But diesel, generators have been around for decades and centuries, right? Where there's a diesel engine sitting somewhere generating electricity, right, for the building or whatever. So that technology has been around, but putting it all in cars is difficult.
Right. So I think, dude, we should take a moment to move on to our second board.
Let's do our countdown and electrification.
Before we do that, we have, so we put every company on a scale, sort of, and we picked 3 companies from 3 categories about those who are ahead of the curve for electrification, those who are on the curve for electrification, and those who are a little behind the curve. So it seems clear to us, at least here at TFL, that electrification is going to be the main focus for a lot of automakers moving forward. So we picked out who's doing well with bringing electrified vehicles to their lineup and who's not doing so well. So let's start out with those companies that are ahead of the curve on electrification. And the first one's pretty obvious, actually. It's Tesla, right?
So they're solely electric company.
Tesla is all electric, and in that sense, they are pretty much the benchmark for ahead of the curve because everything they make is electrified. In other aspects, maybe they're suffering a little bit. They've been pretty tragically late to every production deadline they've tried to set for themselves.
Well, they have high goals and sometimes have trouble meeting the goals.
Yes, they have had some issues meeting the goals. But I think the consensus among a lot of people seems to be that Teslas are very desirable. They're kind of fun to drive. They're very fast, and they're
also
somewhat
expensive.
They're super expensive.
This is some of the future cars. This is their new Roadster.
This is the Roadster. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. But another company that we actually think is ahead of the curve on electrification is Volkswagen. So
what? What?
In their attempts to kind of regain trust or push the whole Dieselgate scandal under the rug a little bit, Volkswagen has been investing heavily in electrification and electric vehicle technology. This is the ID, one of the
Buzz.
ID vehicles. This is the Buzz with Z's.
It's a concept still.
It's a concept, but it should be coming very soon. I think around 2020. So Volkswagen is pushing a lot of money into electrification. They already have the Golf E, the e-Golf, which is their electrified Golf. They have this, the Buzz, and they have another one called the Croz with
Which is a
CROZZ, which
Yeah.
would be a crossover. And another ID that you and I are going to see this weekend,
R.
the ID-R. It's the Pirates' favorite ID.
It's a race car.
It is a fully electric 470, wait, no,
Like
no,
670.
670 horsepower,
Yes.
twin motor, 500 kilowatt electric
Crazy.
race car, specially built for Pikes Peak.
Here's
It's
the
nuts.
thing, really
It's
quick
nuts.
about VW.
Yeah.
Because I went to their presentation in Los Angeles when they were talking about electrification,
Mm-hmm.
and they said like the e-Golf that's currently on sale is kind of putting electric powertrain into an existing platform, and that has limitations, right?
Right, of
Weight and etc.
It's a lot easier to
But
build
they developed
something.
a new platform completely from
From the ground up.
blank sheet of
Yeah.
paper, and that's where the Buzz and the Cross and a lot of this is going to be the first iteration of what VW is doing.
Yep.
Kind of a crossover vehicle, kind of targeted at Tesla in many ways.
I think so. You know what I love about this too?
Yes.
This headlight and grille design, if you go back one picture to the ID, Volkswagen just took the IDR. Yeah, Volkswagen just took that outline and just made
Painted
a
it.
sticker out of it and put it on the front of the IDR.
You should put it on your GTI.
No, I'm not going to do that. No. That's not electric.
No.
But yeah, no, it's
Volvo is doing also pretty well.
Volvo is the third one that's really ahead of the curve. I think it's just about there's maybe one or two exceptions, but just about every Volvo you can now get with the T8 powertrain, which is a 2-liter turbo
Yeah.
supercharged 4-cylinder that is also a hybrid. So
Right.
you have a turbo, a supercharger, and a hybrid electric system, and they
Yes.
make like 400 horsepower, and you can get that in almost any Volvo. Plus, Volvo has the Polestar brand, which used to be their performance brand. Now it's a shoot-off brand that's
Like
going to be
luxury
making
high-performance brand.
just electric cars. So this is the Polestar 1. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this will be the first fully electric vehicle with many, many horsepowers that Volvo Polestar will be
And many
bringing
torques
out.
as well.
Even more torques, actually. So those are the three companies we think are ahead of the curve: Tesla, Volkswagen, and Volvo. They're all investing a lot of resources, some because it's all they're investing in, others because they're seeing the future and going that way. But there's also companies that are kind of on the curve or who are, the industry average for electrification right now. And the first one is GM. So the Bolt, I actually went on a press drive for this here in Colorado last year with one of our friends and coworkers, Grant. They had the Bolt, the Volt, some other hybrid technology. Actually, Chevy was one of the first companies to put hybrid tech into trucks and SUVs as well. I remember, I think the Silverado and the
E-Assist
Tahoe.
system. Yeah.
But they're kind of, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they're promising a lot more electrified vehicles over the next several years. Companies do that for investors sometimes, where they announce their plans going up 4 or 5 years, like FCA just did recently. And they might be having another electrified vehicle coming out very shortly, so stay tuned for that. Maybe next week.
Stay tuned.
So,
that's soon.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned for that.
Actually, this week. At the end of this week,
Wow.
stay tuned. There'll be some Chevrolet news as well.
But
like Mercedes-Benz is doing well.
Mercedes is doing well. We had the opportunity. Well, we have the EQC coming out. We had the opportunity to drive the GLE 550E hybrid a little while ago. That name is clunky.
But fast.
But fast. It was
car.
quick. It was a quick car. And Honda is also doing pretty well. They're pretty on track with the Insight and the Clarity. And
Honda Accord hybrid.
Yeah, Honda has a good amount of hybrids and EVs on the way.
I want to put 2 other companies. I know we didn't put them on the list.
No, put them in there. Yeah.
But I want to put Ford and Toyota on the list as well. So Ford is working really heavily on electrification. We'll talk about
that in a
little
minute,
bit soon. And Toyota, they've had the Prius for many, or a couple
of
decades.
long time.
Several decades, and now they're still kind of evolving that technology.
Prius has been around since the late 90s, hasn't it?
Yeah, like 96, 97.
Yeah.
So they're doing well. But what about behind the curve?
So the first company that's behind the curve a little bit, we're going to argue it's FCA. So we just talked about how Fiat Chrysler had this big 5-year plan where they announced a bunch of electrified vehicles actually, but currently they're really slow. So they have the 500C. So 500E, excuse me. Gosh, there's so many different letters for electrified things.
Yes.
That's fine. They have.
It's a limited range car.
It's very limited range. They have the Pacifica Hybrid,
which is actually not a bad van.
Which you got to drive.
Yeah,
right?
really smooth. It's got a V6 and also an electric, kind of a shorter range plug-in hybrid.
Yeah.
Very smooth, very powerful.
Yeah.
But
and that's kind of it, right?
They have mild hybrids coming out in Jeep and Wrangler and
Ram
the Ram truck. But still, that's really mild type of technology. It's just a little assist.
And nothing much else past that. So of course they did just to make these big announcements that they are going to start adding a lot of electrification. But where they stand right now, there's not a whole lot coming out of FCA that is electrified or hybrid even really. So they're a little behind the curve. Mazda might be the most behind the curve. Mazda is actually really investing a lot of money and time into developing internal combustion engines to be more fuel efficient, but they haven't put a lot of time and thought into electrification itself. So they have the Skyactiv X engine technology, which they announced a little while ago, that is supposed to really improve MPG for the internal combustion engine, but they haven't made a whole lot of plans as far as electrification. And because we're kind of running out of time here, the next one is Subaru.
Yeah.
So Subaru is also, they have the Crosstrek hybrid, but other than that, they don't have any other hybrids in their lineup right now.
And I think you hit it on the nose. I think Mazda and Subaru, they've been focused on their core technologies, which is Skyactiv technology for Mazda and the Boxer engines for Subaru. I mean, they've been doing that for many, many decades.
Yep.
And I think, like you said, are they going to be on board when all the electrification becomes popular?
I don't know, because I think very soon it's going to be like you got to have that, or else you're not going to be keeping up.
Yeah.
Matthew Emmerich asked a really good question. Why did Honda's hydrogen cell technology not take off? What was/is its downside? I think it's an easy answer. It's just super expensive still. I think it's the same
availability of hydrogen too.
That too. Hydrogen's kind of hard to come by. Well,
we breathe it every day.
It's one of the most abundant things, but getting it into a form that's usable to power a vehicle is kind of the tricky part.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really expensive to produce hydrogen cell vehicles right now. There's a few companies doing it.
Honda and Toyota.
Honda and Toyota both. But for now, it's just the technology is not cheap enough to be commercially viable for a large audience.
Basically, it's like Los Angeles, California area.
Maybe you can find one. But
and then like New York. Like around New York City. So those are the areas where currently hydrogen fuel stations are available.
Yep.
In Colorado, there's not a single station right now. There may be some experimental stations like the research lab near Boulder, but it's not really a consumer-friendly thing.
Not yet, at least. Maybe soon in the future it will be. But for now, it's just too expensive. But that was a really good question. Thanks for asking that.
Let's do the countdown really quick.
So we have a top 10 list. So because electrification is the way that everyone's seeming to be going, we picked out our top 10 electric or electrified vehicles that we're most excited for. So to make this list, we consulted our friend Anton Wallman, who, like we said, is our electric vehicle expert specialist.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He knows just everything there is to know. He's like a Rolodex for information.
And not just electric cars. I mean, he does the entire industry. But yeah, he's very good.
He's a really smart dude. So thanks, Anton, for helping us out with this list. Number 10 is the Jaguar I-Pace. So Roman just went to Portugal to drive this, and there's a video out about that right now. You can go check out our review. But this is on our list because...
He drove it through water.
He drove it through, like, a lot of water, actually. We're excited about this, though, because we haven't driven it yet.
No, we have not.
I think it might be one of the best-looking... Well, there's more on this list that are good looking too, but
maybe.
It looks really cool. It looks a little on its tippy toes.
A little high. Maybe you can lower it an inch, make it a little cooler. Maybe you throw some dubs on there.
Yeah, stance it a little bit. But it looks good. It looks really cool.
Okay.
It's Jag's first electric vehicle.
All electric.
First all electric.
Yes. It's completely electric.
Look at that. I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, but on to number 9. It's the Ford Mustang Hybrid / the Ford Mach 1. So at the Detroit Auto Show in January this year, Ford basically teased, look at there it is. They're bringing back the Mach 1 name, but not necessarily on a Mustang.
Right.
Yeah, so it looks like the Mach 1 is going to be an SUV crossover. Electrified vehicle.
Right.
We're really excited to see more about that because we're curious to see, Ford, you mentioned, is kind of on the curve. This might help put them ahead of the curve a little bit if they can get it right.
Yeah, and I think they were very mysterious about this. You know, they showed this kind of a clip. There were a lot of yes.
Stop everything. Street Muscle 215 just gave us $5 to sponsor the chat. So
Oh
thank
my
you very
gosh.
much, Street Muscle.
Thank you so
That's
much.
much appreciated.
We always appreciate help, obviously. So.
Anyways, continue. I had to.
I mean,
had
they
to
were
point that out.
mysterious about this. They said it's coming. We're not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be electric, but it's not.
It looked
I
very
mean,
like bulbous shaped in the wood.
There's like some shadowy
yeah,
car.
we got some weird silhouettes. Not a whole lot.
But there's a lot of excitement building here, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a lot of more hybrids coming.
Tons of hybrids. So number 8 is the Hyundai Kona EV. Tommy and I just took the Kona up Goldmine Hill. You can
A
watch
regular
it-
one.
A regular one with the 7-speed dual clutch, which, spoiler alert, did not go so well for the Hyundai Kona. But this Kona, the EV, is supposed to have 250 miles of range, which is a lot for an electric vehicle. So obviously Tesla can get a little more, but 250 miles seems to be that point after which people lose a bit of range anxiety and can actually use it as a fairly everyday vehicle. Definitely looking forward to that. I really like a lot of what Hyundai and Kia have been doing in the past few years, and I'm really curious to see what they do with electric technology. Number 7 is the Volvo XC40 plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. The XC40 is an awesome little crossover.
It is.
It's really good. You took a Volvo up in the snow recently.
Nathan and I took it up Goldmine Hill in the snow.
Yep.
Not the electric version, but the regular one.
Yep.
And it surprised us because it went up a snowy hill, which no other vehicle was able to do.
With not even the most
Not
amazing
even
tires.
snow tires.
Yeah.
It was all-season tires.
It was really
And I
impressive.
was impressed how much room is actually inside of this thing, because you think it's a tiny car, but you get in it.
And there's plenty of space. We're big dudes. We're both 6'2".
We're big dudes, and we're fitting in there just fine.
More than happy with the amount of space in there.
So this is cool.
Very cool. Very excited for that. I'm sure it'll share a lot of stuff with Polestar. Number 6 is the Audi e-tron Quattro. Look at that.
Aha.
Whoa, bringing back.
They just unveiled the Q8, right?
They did just unveil the Q8, and that looks very
That looks like very Q8-ish.
on design language. All we know
Electrified.
about this right now, 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds according to Audi, which is quick. That's quick. Electric cars give you instant torque, which makes for some fast 0 to 60 times.
That'll make you forget about the diesel scandal.
I think so.
Yeah.
Rupert really wants you to buy this.
Right.
Number 5 is the Alfa Romeo GTV / the Alfa Alfieri is what they're calling it.
Yes.
So as part of FCA's 5-year plan, they announced 2 brand new electrified Alfa Romeos. The GTV will have 50-50 weight distribution, great balance, 600 plus horsepower with e-boost.
How can you not love that?
And look at the shape. This is a little teaser image they gave us, but I think that looks really cool.
Well, you know what? Alfa makes some sexy cars.
They do.
Alfa Romeo.
They do. All-wheel drive, torque vectoring, and 4-passenger seating.
I think they're targeting Tesla for sure. I mean, and
Yeah.
every other manufacturer out there, and saying we can make some sexy cars, but they can also be powerful and electric.
It looks like it'll have kind of a 2+2 design. So it's a coupe body style, but it's supposed to sit 4.
Number 4.
Number 4. We're getting told to speed up here. Number 4, the Polestar 1. Here it is. I'm super excited about this. I'm kind of a Volvo nerd. It's supposed to have 600 horsepower and 737 foot-pound of torque. Wow.
Yes.
And it looks awesome. It's basically an S90 with a coupe body style. So
it's really sexy.
you got the Thor's
Let's
hammer
move on.
headlights.
I know you're a nerd. Come
Oh, wait,
on,
no,
let's move on.
it's gonna be subscription based. Also, you can
Yeah,
subscribe to it.
okay, and buy it on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, the Mercedes-Benz EQC. It's the thing we talked about a little earlier. The EQ class. So you know how Mercedes has like the
AMG
GLA. Well, no, they have the GLA and
Okay.
the CLA.
Yes.
They have all those, the GLCL. The EQ will be their new sub brand. So this will be the EQC. So the C class.
sized.
of the
Yes.
EQ. That's about all we know about it. Obviously, it looks close to ready for production. But number 2, the Porsche Taycan.
That's going to be incredible.
There's a little commercial for that is really interesting.
So basically, kind of like a 4-seater, electric Porsche, which Porsche has always been about, gasoline power and excitement.
Yeah,
and
Porsche
performance.
have made it clear that they're going to be one of the last companies to get rid of the gasoline engine.
Or the manual transmission. I mean, they're
Well,
still
and,
kind
and
of
the manual transmission.
sticking
So
around.
thanks to them for that. But they are also recognizing that electric vehicles will become, a necessary part of any lineup. So this is on the way. It looks pretty cool. And number one, the ID series. So the Volkswagen ID Buzz, the Cross, and the R Pikes Peak.
It's a lot of buzzes and
It's a lot of zzz and
But what's
IDs
exciting here,
and
I
stuff.
think, what's exciting here is because VW is always, they're budget-based minded, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of these cars will be affordable, like some of the others we just mentioned.
Yep.
Not the hypercars, but I mean the regular cars like the Kona and the Mustang and the Volvo XC40, which are actually a little bit more affordable.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
This
about.
is not very affordable.
No, not this.
That's super
Not
expensive.
this.
But
But what's the bonus?
The bonus is the Tesla Roadster, and the reason it's the bonus, Andre,
Yes.
is because it's not just going to be powered by electricity. It'll also be rocket powered, according to a tweet by Elon Musk.
What?
It's going to use rockets.
So is he like strapping a booster rocket on the back?
Yeah, he's going to
wheel?
put rockets up here and on the back to help with cornering and braking and acceleration, apparently.
Okay.
So it'll
Well,
literally be a rocket ship.
But before that, he needs to get his Model 3 production all squared
No,
away.
no. Don't worry about the
Uh,
Model 3. That'll be ready soon. That's what Elon Musk is saying. This is going to have rockets. It's going to
Okay.
be great. Don't worry about it. 0 to 60 time of 1.9 seconds without the rockets.
Okay.
Faster with them, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
But guys, sorry for the rush here. We're running out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in to our live show. If you like this new time, please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
It's top of the hour, but it's a little bit later in the day.
Yep.
When you guys are coming or on their way home or coming home.
Yep.
And you want to talk to us and hear more about cars, you can always support us on patreon.com/TFLcar. We always appreciate your help, support here, and you can ask your questions in the community section.
We are very diligent about responding to your questions on Patreon because we really appreciate the support from you guys. So if you want to help us out and help us keep making content like this for you guys, then please do go support us on Patreon. But dude, we're a little over time. I think we
Okay.
got to wrap it up.
Let's close it.
Thanks guys for coming and watching this new show. Let us know any comments. We'll read them after the show publishes regardless. All right, see ya.
Thanks.